Hey guys, welcome to my Yakamaru North tanking guys. I'll be showing you 3 different methods, and before we get started just want to let you know, I hope you know how to do Yakamaru. Hope you know all the mechanics before you watch this guide, because I won't be explaining how to do the main fight, just North tanking on Mirage phase. So I've got 3 different methods and I've got a menu here so you can click on this relevant section to navigate to it. And as you can see, my most recommended methods are the duo or trio north tanking. If you really want to commit suicide, I would go for solo north tanking if you're feeling adventurous, but definitely don't do it if you're a first timer. All the best, and I hope you enjoy the guide, guys. To start off with, let's make sure we know what we're doing. So, as a solo north tank, you have got your hands full. You're going to be tanking both the quicksand and the stun pool Mirage phase until the DPSs finish off the tendrils in the Sharknado pool and come to you. And obviously the objectives are pretty obvious. Make sure you don't get out of combat of the 2 pools, which means either they're attacking you or you're attacking them, which means you shouldn't get too far away from either of them for more than around 5 seconds. Then they'll fling dangerous projectiles if you do that. And also obviously stay alive as long as possible. Probably not very long if you're soloing, because you're going to get absolutely shreked unless you do what I'm going to show in the later part of this video. And make sure the jellies don't get melee distance of the DPSs, and they don't get melee distance of you, so use entangles and use ice barrage to stop them from doing that. So for duo north tanking, it's much easier. You'll be assigned to one of the 2 pools, not both of them. It'll be much easier to stay alive. You just need to do that, stay alive, be in combat with that pool, and make sure the jellies that the pool spawns don't get MD of either you or the DPSs when they come over. And finally, trio north tanking. This is actually very easy, although a lot of people don't do it. I'll show you how to do it later on, but basically if you're tanking the quicksand pool, it's no different from when you're tanking it as a duo. But if you're attacking the stun pool, you need to be in all-out DPS gear, not in tank gear, and I recommend that you use ranged, not mage, because with mage you can't use asphyxiate, with range you can use rapid fire. So I recommend you use range, and basically you just need to DPS as hard as you can and then block it off as fast as possible, and then go back and help your teammates with the other pools like the tendrils and the Sharknado and the quicksand. And yeah, that's pretty much it. It's the easiest one in my opinion as well. So if you want a north tank, try and get primeval gear using techie, because it's really useful, especially if the special effect activates. Plus it doesn't degrade at all at raids, which is really good. And you can always use Sea Singers or Tectonic if you don't have it, but I love to take Primeval as well. Plus if you wear it, it gives you an increased chance of Primeval gear, active Primeval gear at the end of the kill. Obviously Ring of Death is a given, Penance is also a given, especially if you're using Arcane. The rest I think it's pretty self-explanatory. Sign of Life, Hours to Souls is really useful here. And if you don't have, you can always downgrade obviously. If you have Seismics, it'll save you an invent space. I don't have Seismics right at the moment, so I'm just using Virtus 1 and Arcane for the switch. Moving on to the inventory, this is the ratio I like to take. It's pretty self-explanatory again, but this many restores is enough. If you have Penance, you don't even need 4 for the whole kill. And obviously take Ice Barrage runes or Entangle runes. If you take an Entangle, put it on your action bar so you can cast it quickly. If you're using Entangle also, it'll be useful to take Seismics because you can cast it faster. And having Dark Form also helps if you have it. The Curse, I think it increases the chance of Ice Barrage activating on the jellies. That's it, jellies. And finally, the familiar inventory. This is what I like to take. Not too many brews, but you know, just a few brews, and Portents of Restoration are useful as well in my opinion. Not too many brews here as well. Maybe take a few more if you're uncomfortable with how much you're gonna eat. Take more brews, but this is my ideal ratio. And if you're trio north tanking, obviously if you're tanking the quicksand pool, then just go back to the previous section because your gear doesn't change. You're maging. If you are, however, attacking the stun pool, you want to use range ideally, not mage, because with range you can use rapid fire, but with mage you can't use asphyxiate, so your deeps will be much less with mage. So I recommend taking ranged, and my favourite is a Nox bow. It doesn't really matter whether you take that or the Ascension. Obviously max DPS gear, pretty obvious. Supreme Sharpshooter Cruelty, or if you don't have the level for a Portent of Life, take a Sign of Life. And Reaper Necklace, I prefer that over the Amulet of Souls because you need to deeps as much as you can. And Serenic and Concave and what else? I don't have Ascension grips right now, so if I did I would take that. Either that or the Death Touched bracelet. It doesn't, not Death Touched, yeah, whatever, something bracelet. You know what I'm saying. Ring of Death is also a given. My inventory, I have heal runes. If you need to heal, have them. In case the healer die, get them anyway, even if you're not going to use them. Make sure you're on Lunas. Dreadnips are a given. This is my brew to Rocktail ratio. I don't take too many brews, but because they're quite expensive and you don't need to eat that much anyway if you're getting good heals. Prayer renewals are given, replenishments are given. So yeah, it's all pretty self-explanatory. Just make sure you have Death Swiftness, Snapshot and Rapid Fire on your bar and you're good to go for stun pool DPSing. So when Mirage phase starts, which is when the East pool is at 50k, make sure you're next to your pool and make sure your prayer is up, make sure your penance is on, and obviously my preferred method is to far tank, not melee distance tank, but you can do either. The first thing I like to do is pop a resonance and make sure that's ready for like as soon as possible, because that's probably your best ability, most common ability you'll be using. And then I like to use resonance and then reflect. So yeah, and then I just cade when the damage I take gets really high. Obviously use freedom to, you know, reduce the damage you take, but it won't help too much because you'll just stack up the damage really quickly. And basically it's just fight for survival. Make sure your prayer is up, make sure your health is high, Rocktail brew a lot, and make sure you're attacking either the jellies or Yakamaru until your team is ready and they come there, so that your adrenaline is high. Always use some sort of ability, be it reflect, be it debilitate, be it devotion. And this is where the primeval is very handy, because the primevals can sometimes reset your defensive ability cooldowns, so you can use devotion back to back, for example. Debilitate isn't very good because you can't splash with it, so reflect I'd recommend. And just make sure you stun the jellies as they spawn. It's pretty easy, you just got to click on them. Dark form might help if you have the dark form curse from the Ancient Curses spellbook. And yeah, once your DPS has come there, it's very, very easy. You just gotta stun the jellies and wait for them to finish it off. Make sure you don't have any planks, because then you could fail the kill. So I thought it might actually be better to show what you shouldn't do than what you should do. For example, don't take as few brews as I did, which means I just have Rocktails to eat up at the end, even though my team is on Sandpool, so they probably got the kill because I lasted it out this long. Don't just take Rocktails and make yourself run out of food, because that is a problem. So make sure you get your ratio right. That changes from person to person, but just make sure you get it right as soon as possible. Here's another example of a good method with a sad ending, just because of my penance. As you can see, I had less than a minute going into Mirage phase, less than a minute of penance, which is never good. I was tanking the stun pool and my penance was about to run out. Also, I had 3 planks, which is also not good. Never take planks as a duo north tank method, because if you die, your team will have to get your planks, which will waste time and they might fail the kill. So never take planks as a duo north tank. And I was doing pretty well. I was devotioning, I was doing the right things, I was stunning the jellyfish, going around the other side, and someone actually called MD in the chat, as you see, and at this point I was derping and I thought I had to go MD, which it was actually quite good, because you can MD tank. It doesn't really make a difference. Just make sure you don't go out of MD, otherwise you'll get range hit and you will probably die. So yeah, I was doing pretty well, but my penance ran out and my prayer kept getting smited, and as you can see, 7k and then sign and then dead pretty soon. So that wasn't good. Just make sure you have your penance before you go into Mirage. Generally, running back and forth between east and west works pretty well, and this time I actually had primeval armor, which was good, but unfortunately their special effect didn't activate. But I was able to, survive long enough, because they were already on stun pool. But you do need to be aware of your teammates, don't just be stuck in your own north tanking, because then when the base tank comes to this pool, they'll have to take over, and sometimes they might be overwhelmed. They do take a lot of damage, they might run out of food or something, so you've got to be aware of that, and just make sure you evoke it back if the base tank dies. And obviously that time no one was stunning it, so we didn't do any damage, so I took the responsibility of stunning it. Make sure you call it out when you do this. So yeah, just a quick example to show that you need to be aware of your surroundings and your teammates at Yakamaru if you want to get a successful kill. And that's it for Duo North Tank. Now this is actually my favourite method, trio north tanking or duo stun pool. So you and the other stun pool DPS should take 5 planks each well before the start of Mirage phase. Make sure you kill off all the jellies before you start, and then move to this location that I'm going to move to now. So halfway between the eastern pool and the stun pool, around 100k Yakamaru HP. You need to death swiftness and have your snapshot ready by the time it gets to 50k when the stun pool spawns, and then you and the other DPS basically just DPS it down because it's pre-stunned, so you'll do max damage straight away. And you can just use devotion to tank the hits, and before devotion runs out, you'll be able to get it down if you use snapshot and rapid fire. And it's very, very easy just because of how much DPS you can do. You just need 2 people to do that extra DPS. You could actually do it with 1 person, but it'll be quite hard. And then you just block it up when it's done. It sounds pretty easy, and it actually is. But you just need to make sure you death swiftness and get your snapshots and your rapid fire out ASAP. Otherwise, it could be quite nasty. And here we actually failed the kill because, well, the sand pool tank died, so we couldn't actually do it. But otherwise we probably would have got it because we were pretty pro there. Here's another really good example of exactly what to do and how to do it. So actually the person who's demonstrating it well is my friend Red Bomb here, who's southeast of me. He's death swifted in time, he's getting his adrenaline up in time before the mirages spawn, and the first thing he does when the mirages spawn is devotion to make sure he doesn't get wrecked. I'm actually failing here, so don't look at me. And then he's snapshotted, he's rapid fired, and he's put the Dreadnought out. So he's single-handedly doing this by himself. And also the sand pool DPS, if you notice, the sand pool north tank is also helping us out, and he's becoming very, very unlucky here because he's getting hit by both, and he's got a blue metamorphosis. So I don't know how we managed to survive this, but he did really, really well there. So I wouldn't actually try and help the stun pool DPS because you'll get hit by both mirages if you do that. Just focus on north tank in the sand pool if you are doing the sand pool, because otherwise you'll get wrecked. And as you can see, after that you just go back and help out your team as if you're mirage DPSing, and it should all be well. You won't be able to plank because you will have used up all your planks, but you'll at least be able to help them fill the Sharknado pool and the other pool, the sand pool, and kill done. So, solo north tanker, you say? Well, if you ever wanted to commit suicide, this is the way to go. So the first thing you should do is stand around halfway between the 2 pools, get everything ready, high prayer, high adrenaline, high HP, and then activate penance and devotion, first thing you should do, and then freedom as soon as you can. But that won't really help because you're tanking both the pools. Now there's a little trick to avoiding as much damage as you thought you would take, and that is to go out of range of the sand pool every once in a while. And to do that you basically just stand north of the stun pool and walk west to east like I'm doing here. So I just went out of range of the sand pool here, and now I'm coming back in range before it flings dangerous projectiles on my teammates. And here I actually went too far, so it did fling dangerous projectiles at my teammates, which wasn't good. But what you need to do is just run back and forth like I'm doing here. It's kind of hard to keep up with your adrenaline because you're constantly eating, but you just got to do your best. Use resonance as much as you can. Hope to hell that your teammates come back quickly so that you survive, and that is pretty much all you can do. Make sure you have full primeval to reset your devotion. That could help if it does activate, but you can't really depend on it. And once your teammates come to sandpool, it's just geo north tanking without having to take twice as much damage, so it's pretty easy once that happens. But until that happens, it can be quite difficult. and make sure you stun the jelly so that it doesn't wreck your teammates, and that's pretty much it. But obviously it's very hard to stay alive, and it's a matter of luck as well as skill, so yeah, just warning you there. So just a few tips as you watch me do another successful solo North tank. Make sure you have quite a few brews, because you'll be brewing throughout the whole kill except for Mirage Phase, so save most of your Octals for Mirage Phase. And also make sure your prayer never drops, because if it does, you're probably instantly dead, and you can never MD with this method, because you have to do far tanking, as I call it. So yeah, again, just make sure you run back and forth, never panic, just eating up is your priority here. You probably won't have much adrenaline to do anything very useful with it, or raise your adrenaline, just resonance as much as you can, and preparation, I guess, and just keep eating and hope to hell that your teammates are quick, because one of the advantages of using this method is that you have an extra DPS. You don't have 2 North tanks who won't be doing any DPS. You actually have 9 people actually DPSing the pools, which means it will get done really quickly, and just one person, well, 8 people and a base tank, so just one person North tanking. That means the pools will get done really quickly. You can get a much faster kill, and you won't have to North tank for too long whatsoever, so that's another advantage. But make sure you don't, let the jellies get on your teammates, because that could cause havoc. That is the main problem here. Don't let your prayer drop again, as I said. So yeah, that's why this method is really good in my opinion. So you've seen all the setups, you've seen all the methods, and you probably know what you're doing. But in the end, despite all that, it comes down to these 4 things. Number 1, don't be scared of failing. Let your team know if you think you might die. Make sure there's a backup if it's your first time, backup North tank in case you do die. So never be scared of failing. If you're scared, you'll never have the courage to even attempt it, and everyone will just leech DPS and you'll probably fail the kill. So don't be scared of failing, always try it out. Number 2, never panic. If you panic, you're probably going to screw up and die. Don't panic, keep a cool head, keep a calm head, and make sure you're high HP and your prayer is always high. Make sure your penance is active if you have a spirit shield, otherwise keep your prayer high. If you have a tier 90 shield as well, keep your prayer high. If you get smited, you can get dropped instantly. So yeah, and as always, practice makes perfect. That is the last tip, and that is the best tip. Keep practicing. That's the only way you're going to get better. That's the only way you're going to stop dying. Unless your name is Xenavilius or Canman, in which case you'll die anyway, despite putting in hundreds of hours of work. But that is pretty much it, guys. I really hope you enjoyed it, and I hope the 3 different methods are useful. Obviously I recommend duoing or trioing. I would never recommend soloing North tank. My current success rate is 50% soloing North tanking, so that's pretty good for me. I thought it'd be like 1%, but yeah, that's it for the video. Hope you enjoyed, and good luck at Yakamaru.